She looked at me as she did love and made sweet moan. In our age of social media and curated online personas, Keats' exploration of appearance versus reality feels strikingly contemporary. Welcome to this YouTube excerpt of the A-Level Ahead seminar on La Belle Dame Sans Merci, where we will explore how Keats uses the ballad form to examine the dangerous nature of idealized love. Here are the questions that will guide our exploration. Does the knight's destruction stem from La Belle Dame's cruelty? Or is it from his own inability to see beyond his fantasies? Or is it simply an expression of our incapacity to live in an elevated state of love? The excerpt will offer a taste of the full seminar, which is available on the website on the screen. La Belle Dame Sans Merci presents a knight-at-arms who has been enchanted and abandoned by a beautiful fairy woman. The poem operates through a dialogue structure, creating two distinct voices: an unnamed questioner who discovers the knight in a desolate landscape, and the knight himself who recounts his supernatural encounter. This dual perspective allows Keats to explore both external observation and internal experience. The ballad form provides the perfect vehicle for this tale of supernatural enchantment, reflecting the romantic revival of interest in medieval literature and folk traditions. Keats employs the traditional four-line stanza structure with an ABCB rhyme scheme, but significantly adapts the form through his use of shortened fourth lines. These truncated endings create a sense of incompleteness and loss that mirrors the knight's psychological state and the poem's exploration of unfulfilled desire. The musical quality that Coventry Patmore praised as simple, passionate, sensuous, and above all, truly musical, becomes a vehicle for psychological exploration. The title itself derives from a medieval French poem by Alain Chartier, reflecting the broader romantic fascination with medieval culture that influenced works like Keats's The Eve of St. Agnes and the revival of interest in Spenser, Chaucer, and traditional ballads. This medieval framework allowed Keats to explore contemporary anxieties about love, creativity, and mortality through the safe distance of historical romance. The poem can be interpreted in many different ways. As a supernatural ballad, it draws on medieval romance and folk traditions of fairy enchantment, exploring the dangerous allure of the other world. As an allegory of the creative process, it represents the poet's relationship with inspiration itself. Mario L. Davanzo argues that the knight represents the poet, La Belle Dame the poetic vision or muse, the knight's steed is the rhythm and meter, and the setting provides the traditional pastoral backdrop of poetry. This reading sees the poem as describing perfectly the poet's semicircular arc of imaginative ascent, fulfillment and decline into the world of reality. Crucially, the poem explores humanity's fundamental inability to sustain elevated states of emotion, spirituality, and imagination, a theme that resonated deeply with Keats' own experience of intense creativity shadowed by mortality. David Perkins suggests that the poem questions what happens when intense experiences end. Can we maintain the depth of imagination or of emotion as humans, or are we inevitably doomed to return to reality? The knight's failure to remain in the supernatural realm reflects our universal struggle to maintain visionary intensity in ordinary existence, while also echoing Keats's own awareness that his time for both love and poetry might be tragically brief. As Perkins notes, the union is broken by the knight's own inability to retain the vision, suggesting that human consciousness cannot permanently sustain transcendent experience. More controversially, the poem invites examination as an exploration of unrequited love and male romantic fantasy. From this perspective, the knight's obsession reveals the dangers of romantic idealization, where the beloved becomes a projection of the lover's desires rather than a real person with independent existence. Some modern feminist interpretations suggest the poem reflects misogynistic attitudes embedded in romantic literature, where the beautiful woman becomes a scapegoat for masculine emotional and creative failure. La Belle Dame is deemed without mercy because she cannot live up to impossible romantic expectations that deny her independent existence. The title itself, meaning the beautiful lady without mercy, immediately establishes the central tension between beauty and cruelty that dominates the work. However, this beautiful but merciless figure challenges simple moral categories. She exists beyond human ethical frameworks, following her supernatural nature without consideration for human suffering. As Leon Waldorf notes, this reflects Keats' tendency to divide women into fair maids and femme fatale, though here the division exists within a single character who embodies both nurturing and destructive aspects. Stanzas 1 to 3, The Wasteland Discovery. The poem opens with a compelling question that immediately establishes both the medieval setting and the atmosphere of mystery and decline. Oh, what can ail thee, knight-at-arms, alone and palely loitering? The archaic verb ail and the formal address knight-at-arms transport us to a world of chivalric romance, whilst the present participle loitering suggests aimless wandering and loss of purpose. The knight appears fundamentally displaced from his proper social function as a protector and warrior. The adverb palely works on multiple levels, suggesting both physical illness and the spiritual pallor that accompanies loss of vitality. The knight is alone, separated not just physically but existentially from his community and role. This isolation will prove central to understanding his vulnerability to supernatural enchantment. The seasonal imagery creates a stark, desolate landscape that functions as an external manifestation of the knight's internal state. The sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. The withered sedge suggests the drying up of life-giving water, whilst the absence of birdsong creates an unnatural silence that heightens the sense of spiritual and natural desolation. This imagery establishes what Mario L. Davanzo calls a purgatory whose landscape mirrors the desolation within. The questioner's description of the knight's appearance employs flower imagery that connects beauty with transience and suffering. I see a lily on thy brow with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose fast withereth too. The lily, traditionally associated with both purity and death, combined with anguish moist and fever dew, suggests the knight suffers from a malady that is simultaneously physical and spiritual. The oxymoronic combination of anguish with moist creates a sense of tears or perspiration born of emotional torment. The fading rose evokes the tradition of roses as symbols of passionate love, but here the rose is dying, and the emphatic verb withereth connects the knight's condition directly to the withered landscape described earlier. The repetition of withering imagery creates a pattern that will resonate throughout the poem, suggesting that encounter with La Belle Dame brings not growth but decay. For the remaining stanzas, visit the website www.andyhurleyahead.com. Exploring themes. The following themes emerge from close analysis of the poem. Each bullet point provides a foundation for developing analytical paragraphs that can support essay arguments about Keats's exploration of love, imagination, and human psychology in your essays and discussions. First, the destructive nature of idealized love. Key ideas to shape your response are: love presented as projection and fantasy rather than genuine understanding between two people. The knight's interpretation of La Belle Dame's foreign words as declarations of love reveals dangerous self-deception. Romantic obsession transforms the active lover into a passive victim of his own desires. The cyclical nature of the enchantment suggests idealized love traps successive generations in similar patterns of desire and disappointment. Communication breakdown prevents authentic intimacy, reducing love to solitary fantasy. Second is lovers' consumption and possession. The knight's desire to adorn La Belle Dame with garlands and bracelets reflects attempts to claim and control beauty. La Belle Dame's fairy food creates physical and emotional dependence, reversing traditional power dynamics. The relationship involves mutual consumption. She feeds him supernatural sustenance whilst he offers worship and service. Physical and emotional consumption leads to spiritual depletion rather than fulfillment or growth. The knight's gifts attempt to domesticate her wildness, revealing possessive rather than appreciative love. For the remaining themes, visit the website www.andyhurleyahead.com. For details of ideas on activities to help embed the understanding of this poem, along with all the other features available on a range of poems on the A-level syllabus, visit the website www.andyhurleyahead.com.